Good morning. This is Souryana Yassine, a professor of applied linguistics and language sciences at the University of Mulot Memory of Tizi Ouzou, to show you a kind of application of the SQ4 technique and strategy for as part of the reading MOOC. The sequence 2 consists of using the SQ4R method to read teaching materials. The aim of this is getting the most from reading research articles and textbooks. SQ4R reading method is useful for academics to get the most from the diverse materials they have to read as part of their university and research activities. The 6 steps can be applied to reading research articles and textbooks, which constitute the core of their working materials. Here is a visual representation of how to apply the different steps. As you see, we have the SQ4R reading method, and then with each step, we have a set of questions or a set of techniques that we need to apply. We are just going to see how we are going to apply this for an example of a teaching material or a reading material. Practice of using SQR to read a scientific paper. To illustrate the use of the SQ4R method in reading a scientific paper, we have selected the following paper: Climate Change in Algeria, Vulnerability and Strategy of Mitigation and Adaptation, which is published by a group of Algerian scholars in 2013. Here are the links to the paper. So this is just to show you the paper, and as you note, it is part of the materials university teachers use a lot since it is extracted from Science Direct. First, step 1. We survey the paper. Remember, in this first stage, you are in the before reading, and all you need to do is to overview the paper. Identify its organization by paying attention to headings, subheadings, illustrations, charts, diagrams, and any other graphic signs such as boldface type or italics, and then skimming the descriptive captions of the visuals. For example, we look at the title, Climate Change in Algeria, Vulnerability and Strategy of Mitigation and Adaptation. Then headings, Evolution of GAG and Climate in Algeria, Vulnerability, Strategy, Mitigation Program for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, the National Climate Plan. Subheadings. When we look at the paper, we find the following subheadings. Under the heading of Evolution of GAG and Climate in Algeria, we can find the following subheadings. 1. Evolution of GAG. 2. The ecological footprint of Algeria. 3. Climate change. And we also looked at the figures. The paper includes 6 figures as follows. The first one, second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. In addition to the figures, we have tables. In this paper contains 2 tables. We have a first one, which is about the nomenclature of the words and concepts used in this paper, and the second one, which highlights the benefits and the barriers of the strategy adopted by the country. Step 2. Question. This step requires you asking questions about the previously identified items such as the title, headings, key terms, or highlighted key words. You can turn each of the headings, subheadings into questions. For example, we have a heading Evolution of GAG and Climate in Algeria. We can ask questions such as what is GAG? Why is it important to study GAG? What is the relation between GAG and climate? How does GAG affect the climate in Algeria? Step 3. Read. Now read carefully the paper in order to answer the previously asked questions. Look for the main idea by studying the text and engaging in an active examination of the different parts. Use study techniques such as mind mapping and outlining. For example, by reading the paper, you understand that GHG stands for the greenhouse gas and that it has a negative impact on climate change. Algeria is very much vulnerable to climate change. Algeria has developed a strategy which includes many components to fight against climate change. Algeria has developed a national climate plan to improve its climate footprint. Step 4. Record. While reading the paper, you stop at the end of each paragraph or section and write down definitions, important information, specific details, and etc. Do that briefly. For example, in the sections Vulnerability and Strategy, the great vulnerability of Algeria consists of water and lack and agriculture. Algeria has almost reached the mobilizable water potential. There is a loss in farmland due to human pressure, desertification, soil erosion, and the vegetation cover loss. To counter such vulnerability, it established a multifaceted strategy. Algeria has set a national strategy with many components to fight climate change. A national fund for renewable energy is created. Industrial initiatives are set to either mitigate or adapt to climate change. The country's strategy displays a set of benefits but also faces some barriers. Step 5. Recite. When you finish dealing with all the sections of the scientific paper or the article, recite your notes by reading them aloud. This technique will help you establish connections in your mind between your prior knowledge and what you learned from the document in hand and as concerns climate change in Algeria. Doing this helps you retain the information for subsequent use in your research or your teaching classes. Reciting also helps you in testing your memorization of the information. Step 6. Review. The last step is review. It is important that you review your reading notes within 24 hours. Answer the questions you asked in the question step. For example, what is GAG? Greenhouse gas. Why is it important to study GAG? Because Algeria is among important emitters from developing countries. Write a summary using your own words and highlighting the key concepts. For example, climate change, GAG, vulnerability, mitigation, adaptation, energy strategy. Well, here is then a bibliography that helps you know more about the reading strategy, which is the SQ4R method. And thank you for your attention.